From athletic stuff like a full court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
Anxiety and worry do not like playfulness. They do not like humor. They do not like connection. They do not like joy. So however you can insert some playfulness into it is going to be really beneficial. The more you treat this like an emergency, the more it will become an emergency. And it's your job to model something different for your child.
Welcome to Season 8 of Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about managing worry, anxiety, and all the other emotions too.
I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, author, speaker, and mom. I've been a therapist for 35 years, and I'm still in the trenches with families, helping them navigate daily struggles and big problems. Parenting can be a flusterclux, but we tackle the serious stuff without being too serious.
I'm Robin. I'm Lynn's sister-in-law and co-host, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Ed, the producer of Flusterclux.
And my brother.
And my husband.
Anxiety is a family problem with a family solution.
Hey, Lynn, happy back to school season.
Oh, yes, 'tis the season. The season with the most inquiries, and I do a lot of trainings and a lot of, schools coming back, and so teachers and PDs, and then a lot of talk. I mean, not only is it back to school for littler kids going back to school, but it's also send your kid off to college season, which I'm talking about a lot, both to the college kids and the parents. Yeah.
The way you talked about the back to school college thing, it almost sounded like you were personally invested, but you're not. You've already been through the whole thing.
I know, but I'm so empathic to that. I mean, I am. It's a big deal. Like, remember when your lovely daughter went off? I mean, it feels like a big deal. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, I'm always very encouraging, and I tell parents it'll feel weird for 2 weeks and then you'll settle in and stuff like that. But it still is a big deal.
It is a big deal. One of the things that we did as a family, but the night before we took her to school, we drove around in the car and I put on Bohemian Rhapsody and I made us sing it like full voice at the top of our lungs. And eventually, we're all singing this. There was something about that was really calming and centering and ceremonial. So I recommend it, families, if you still have the drop off ahead of you.
Yeah. A little Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Good tip.
Mama, let me go. Isn't that part of it? Mama Mia, let me go. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
So we got a listener question for a different back to school issue for the younger population that I think kind of merges so many of the things that you talk about. And I would say this, you have this great line that you've used before where you're going to tell everybody how to change a tire of a red bicycle. And then someone sends a letter in that says, but you didn't tell me how to change a tire of a blue bicycle.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
that's what happens.
That's what happens. And so sometimes people really want it to be specific to their exact situation. But if you get the principles, you can apply this to a lot of situations.
That's right. And as I have said before, too, my pal Reed, who I wrote the 2 books with, Reed Wilson, he's from North Carolina, and he says, we got to chunk it up. That's what he says in his Southern accent. I don't know if you said that in Tulsa, but he says that in Chapel
I've
Hill.
never heard that. What does he mean by that specifically?
He means we have to bring it up to the higher level so that we're looking at the big picture, not getting caught in the details. I think it's like the forest for the trees type metaphor.
Yeah. Well, in Tulsa, we say, let's go meta.
Oh, is that what you say in Tulsa?
Yes. Thank you very much.
You didn't say that in the 80s.
That's true. But if I were still living there, that's what we'd say.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is this listener question, which many of you might relate to certain aspects, but this is applicable to so many families who have some back to school nervousness right now and anxiety. Hello, I have a question about my son who is going into 1st grade, having some worries about being sick on the bus. It happened once and it happened to be on the school bus, and he had never been sick before that. Naturally, he would be afraid of getting back to the bus now that we've been through summer and it's coming back around where he doesn't even want to go to school. I'm not sure if giving him an emergency bag of supplies like a barf bag would be the right thing here because he's going to have to take the bus to school. And I don't know if that's an accommodation. Would that be too much that would trigger his anxiety and make it worse? I thought I would just put it in his backpack and tell him it's there if he needs it and not say much else. Is this what I should be doing?
Okay, great question. And this is where a little bit of that nuance shows up, is that how can I help but not do too much? So there are a few things that we want to pay attention to this. One is that he's going into first grade, which means he's a little tiny muffin, right? He's a little tiny kid. He's getting on the school bus. So we want to recognize developmentally that's where he's at. And it's totally normal for a little kid who has a bad experience to then worry that that bad experience is going to happen again. So say you got stung by a bee and it was on your grandma's rose bush. You might be afraid of that rose bush. Or you walked into a restaurant and a dog started barking at you. You might be worried the next time you went into that restaurant. So it's totally normal. So I don't want to blow this up into something big. And the way that parents can blow this up into something big is to give it a whole lot of attention and a whole lot of discussion and a whole lot of accommodation. The short answer is taking a little bag and putting it in his lunchbox or his backpack and saying, okay, so I can hear that you're worried about getting sick on the bus. I get it. We're going to put this bag in your backpack just in case you need it. And then that's it. Would I have somebody do that if we were dealing with a chronic emetophobia, which is a fear of vomiting? I wouldn't do that. But I think that may be enough to just get this little guy over the hump. So if you wanted to do that, Mom, I wouldn't see that as a huge deal. Just don't give it a lot of words, a lot of discussion, a lot of airplay. The other thing you want to do, however, is to make sure that he gets on the bus and that he goes to school. So what often happens is that a child says, I don't want to go on the bus because the kids are mean, or last year the bus driver was grumpy, or I'm afraid I'm going to get lost. And parents immediately start to try and figure out a plan B. And before you know it, they're driving their kid to school every day. They're figuring out how to manage so that their child doesn't have to take the bus on certain days. And I've had parents even follow the bus to school in their car. So this is true. I've said to parents, he has to get on the bus. And then they come back and they're like, okay, he got on the bus. And then the kid says, yeah, and Mom followed in the car so I could wave to her the whole time. I was like, that's not what I meant.
Oh my.
I know,
pretty
it is
funny.
pretty funny. It is funny. It is funny because the kid usually is the one who unknowingly blows the whistle on them. And now, I don't know if this is a child who's had some worries before, or if this is the first time that it's really sort of shown up. If this is a child who's done a lot of things, is able to sleep in their room and goes to birthday parties and is able to have babysitters and all these things that we see are normally developmentally appropriate versus some stronger signs of anxiety. If this is the first time that it's shown up, I want you, Mom, to think about this as a really great opportunity to start laying those skills, to start putting those skills in place and using that language of, you know what, when something happens like that, of course we think about it. And our worry, because we all have worry, sort of shows up and says, can you handle it? Can you handle it? And I want you to know that, yep, throwing up is yucky. I know you didn't like it, but I know that you can handle riding the bus. And just be very direct, very clear. We want to say, yeah, that was scary, combined with, and you can handle riding the bus. Don't talk about it. Don't give him alternatives. Don't talk about what seat he should sit in. Just very simply, you can handle this. Say it's the first day of school and it's time for him to get on the bus and he starts crying and saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. What if I get sick? That's when you can say, remember, we put that bag in your backpack if you need it, but I know that you can handle this. So a little tiny accommodation, a little tiny safety behavior, because he's a little tiny person, and not a lot of discussion and not a lot of talk. That's how I would handle this. Right now, you're at kind of a key place of whether or not this is going to escalate into a pattern or whether or not you're going to be very clear and you're going to do that confidence building, that experiential practice very clearly and right from the get-go, and see if you can get over this hump. And even if he does have a lot of trouble with it, you still want him to get on the bus because practice works. It may take 3 or 4 days, but you want to say to him, I know you can handle it. That's what you want to do.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, I think the parent has a real role here that we have to acknowledge when we have these conversations that's going to make it go a lot easier or a lot more challenging.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. I remember my kids when they were little going to birthday parties there, and we took a family trip one weekend. It was so much fun. The kids were so busy. If you've got kids, you can let them go on the water slides. They can splash away in the indoor water park. It's always 84 degrees. There's a wave pool, a lazy river, and a bunch of massive water slides, including ones your family can all enjoy together. It's just fun. It's active. They'll be happily exhausted at the end of the day. Isn't that the sign of a great family outing, is that everybody's happily worn out at the end of the day? They even have adventure-packed attractions from Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, to the Northern Lights Arcade. There's also a bunch of great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. With 22 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. That's greatwolf.com. Okay, it's August, and I am not ready to let summer go. There's still a lot of summer left in August, but we can't help but think about fall. And for me, that is about work and events. So I am going on Quince, and I am ordering things that are going to update my wardrobe for fall, but help me also still enjoy summer. I recently purchased the organic cotton poplin tiered maxi dress. Fabulous. I also got the washable stretch silk midi shirt dress. Perfect, easy, look great. Quince specializes in effortless, high-quality essentials without the big designer prices. Everything in Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Upgrade your every day. Go to quince.com/fluster for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/fluster for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster. When it comes to money and finances, I'll admit I had some good training. I had parents who really taught me the value of money and really taught me how to pay attention to my finances. So I have a good base, but I'll tell you, it's still really helpful to have tools that keep track of where your money is going. Monarch helps you pay attention to your spending. It catches those things that maybe you lose track of. For example, I am in the middle of planning and helping pay for a wedding for my son, and there are expenses. There are things that I need to pay attention to. I was spending way too much on streaming services. I'll just tell you that right now. And I've been able to really rein in those dollars that just go out the door. I've never been one to spend a lot of money on coffee, but right, you can get yourself caught up in those patterns. Monarch is an app that really shows you what you've already spent. You can even ask Monarch's AI assistant anything about your finances, like, how much did I spend on travel last summer? We're planning a big trip. I need to pay attention to these things, and Monarch has helped me keep track. Write your own money story with Monarch. Use code FLUSTER at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FLUSTER. Okay, we're back.
Lynn, you used to use this expression, be vanilla ice cream. At the beginning, I said, well, what does that really mean? But what you're really saying is like, remove your emotion from this conversation. Go totally flat, totally plain, no chocolate chips.
Vanilla ice cream, very versatile, very agreeable, not a lot of pizzazz.
Not a lot of pizzazz, right? So I think that initial conversation, an anxious parent may feel the emergency, may feel this escalated emotion with the kid and respond accordingly. So you're very good at role playing. So why don't you give an example of what the anxious parent is going to do to follow your advice, but not really hear it? And then when it's a little more successful.
Okay. So when they're giving it their best shot, but they're not quite hitting the mark.
Right.
Yeah. So they're trying to be vanilla ice cream, but they're a little bit of rocky road. Okay.
Chunky monkey.
See what I did there? Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah, I didn't. But now I just want to say I'm a little slow, but I do really appreciate that now.
Okay. So here's how it goes if you're giving it your best shot, but you might be missing the mark a little bit. You come in with a whole lot of empathy and a whole lot of words. And you're like, look, I know you can handle this. Okay. When you threw up last year, that was so scary. Do you remember? I know it was so scary. And the little kid says, I know that was so embarrassing. I know. I understand. Nobody likes to throw up. It was really, really bad. But look, you can get on the bus. I've given you your emergency throw up kit, right? So here comes the word emergency. I've given you your emergency throw up kit and it's in your bag. And if you need it, you just tell somebody that you need it. There are plenty of safe adults that will help you. Do you understand? I know you can handle this, honey. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Okay. So that is sweet and caring and loving, but the tone is one of urgency, perhaps of concern. You can hear sort of in my desire to be empathic and caring, I'm really telling the story of like, it was terrible and I hope you can handle it and adults will keep you safe.
Right. You're reinforcing to the anxiety in your child that this is an emergency.
Yeah, this is a big deal. So if you were doing a very similar thing, same architecture, but now you're doing it in a way that's conveying something else. You say, so he says, I don't want to get on the bus. I threw up last year. I didn't like that at all. And you go, oh, I totally get it. Throwing up is a bummer. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put this little bag in your backpack. You're going to get on the bus. And your worry might tell you you can't handle it. Your worry might make this into a big story. We're not going to do that. You're going to get on the bus. You're going to go to school. You're going to get to first grade. You're going to come home after school today, and you're going to tell me about 3 things that were so surprising to you. I wonder what's going to be surprising about first grade. Let's think about that. So maybe, I don't know, is there going to be something surprising on the bus? Here we go. We're taking the bus ride out of emergency, I'm going to get sick, into surprising, curious, interesting. Is the bus ride going to be interesting? Is there going to be surprising on the bus ride? Is there going to be something surprising about your new teacher? I don't know. So let's think about that. 3 surprising things that you're going to learn on your first day of first grade. I love ya. Mwah. So you're changing the tone. And remember, we're also wanting to switch out of emergency and internally focused and oh no, oh no, oh no, to paying attention to what's outside of yourself, being curious, being engaged. And the tone is one of playfulness rather than concern and urgency.
It's about cheery Jedi mind tricks.
It is absolutely about cheery Jedi mind tricks. Yep.
I just thought of a game that if I had an elementary school kid who was a little nervous for first grade, second grade, kindergarten, here's a game that sort of plays into what you just said, because you always like to say, what's something you didn't expect? That's also like a good thing to ask. But you could say, I thought we would make a little chart of things that we're going to guess about the first day. And you and I are going to guess each, what is the color of your teacher's chair? What is the color of your teacher's shoes? And what is a color that your teacher is wearing? And each of you could come up with answers. And if you get one answer, there's one treat. If you get another answer, there's another treat or something to make it a game so that they are focused on excitement of seeing what the answer is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that. And the game that I often play, although yours is simpler and more fun, if you ask me, would be what I know and what I don't know. So you make a list of all the things you already know about first grade and then all the things that you don't know yet, but you're going to find out. So you can play that game too. Your game is simple, fun, easy to do. You could do it if there are older siblings in the family. Everybody could do it. Everybody could guess about the color of their teacher's shoes. or the color that somebody's wearing or how many kids are in the class, you can make it into a really fun game. Almost as fun as singing. What did you sing?
Oh, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just had this image of like a family around the table, and then you've got a middle schooler, and then the middle schooler snarkily says, and I'm going to guess the color of your vomit on the bus.
Oh. All right. Well, that could happen.
Right.
Mhm.
So it might not need to be a full family discussion.
Nobody who's hit puberty is allowed to participate.
Right. Pre-puberty, but post-menopause is okay.
The idea, like, and as we're laughing about this, I think what comes across over and over and over again is that we're changing the tone.
Right. Making it playful.
Making it playful because, as we've said so many times, anxiety and worry do not like playfulness. They do not like humor. They do not like connection. They do not like joy. So however you can insert some playfulness into it is going to be really beneficial. The more you treat this like an emergency, the more it will become an emergency. And it's your job to model something different for your child. Yeah. There's another common approach that I use, or another thing that I have families do at the beginning of the school year, because very often there's a lot of anticipation, particularly for a child who struggled in the past. So say you've got a kid who had a really difficult time with attendance, they missed a lot of school. Say there's difficulty, again, with the fear of vomiting or with social stuff. And one of the things that as we get toward the end of the summer and we get closer to school starting, there is an opportunity for families to talk about summer successes. Now, this is one of the puzzle pieces that I talk about in Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents, building those reminder bridges, because anxiety makes you amnesic to your successes. It's really good at wiping out the things you've done well and really letting the problems take top billing. Most kids have some summer successes. So what did you do as a family? Did you go off to a new camp? Did you learn a new skill? Did you learn how to swim the breaststroke? Did you learn how to hike? Did you learn how to watercolor? Really look at the summer, and it doesn't have to be big major things. Look at the summer and help your kids come up with examples of successes defined by things that they learned how to do, situations they stepped in for the first time, reasonable risks that they took. Maybe they learned how to jump off the side of the pool. Maybe they were able to swim in the deep end. Maybe they learned how to ride a bike. Maybe they went fishing. Maybe they caught a frog. All of those things that you can begin to categorize as successes, because we want to take that momentum, we want to take that process, we want to take that pattern and just help it move right into the beginning of the school year.
If they're young, I also think including trying new foods that they discovered they liked, which is huge. And that's always a big thing too. You took a risk and you discovered that you liked artichokes or something like that.
Yeah. Remember at the beginning of the summer that you said you hated olives, and then by the end of the summer, you were eating olives. Yeah. Maybe you went and picked a fruit. You know, I live in New Hampshire, so we're always picking stuff. Remember when we were hiking and you picked those blueberries off the wild blueberry tree and you ate them? That was really cool. You had never done that before. So there's so many opportunities for that. Maybe they had a new babysitter. Maybe they went to a different program during the day. All sorts of things that you can use that will really help with that.
Can I just tell you one thing, Lynn? I just think it's very funny. Before we started recording this episode, it's like almost dinner time. And I was like, I got to eat my lunch. And I just think that every comment I've made in this episode has been about food.
Because you were so hungry. Well, you know, that's interesting because one of the things that happens to us when we're hiking, and it doesn't happen as much anymore because we're older and we've learned, but we used to hike and not bring food. And we were always starving at the end of the hike, like really, really starving. And my son does the same thing, actually. It was part of his wedding vows, actually, that his new wife was going to make sure that he was fed while they hiked. But what would happen without us even thinking about it is that our conversation would drift to food. Not about like, oh, I'm so hungry, I want this to eat, but more like, hey, what was the best ice cream flavor you ever had? Just randomly, as if we were just making conversation.
Right.
All about food.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
All right.
When it comes to money and finances, I'll admit I had some good training. I had parents who really taught me the value of money and really taught me how to pay attention to my finances. So I have a good base, but I'll tell you, it's still really helpful to have tools that keep track of where your money is going. Monarch helps you pay attention to your spending. It catches those things that maybe you lose track of. For example, I am in the middle of planning and helping pay for a wedding for my son, and there are expenses. There are things that I need to pay attention to. I was spending way too much on streaming services. I'll just tell you that right now. And I've been able to really rein in those dollars that just go out the door. I've never been one to spend a lot of money on coffee, but right, you can get yourself caught up in those patterns. Monarch is an app that really shows you what you've already spent. You can even ask Monarch's AI assistant anything about your finances, like how much did I spend on travel last summer? We're planning a big trip. I need to pay attention to these things, and Monarch has helped me keep track. Write your own money story with Monarch. Use code FLUSTER at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FLUSTER. At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. I remember my kids when they were little going to birthday parties there, and we took a family trip one weekend. It was so much fun. The kids were so busy. If you've got kids, you can let them go on the water slides. They can splash away in the indoor water park. It's always 84 degrees. There's a wave pool, a lazy river, and a bunch of massive water slides, including ones your family can all enjoy together. It's just fun. It's active. They'll be happily exhausted at the end of the day. Isn't that the sign of a great family outing, is that everybody's happily worn out at the end of the day? They even have adventure-packed attractions from Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, to the Northern Lights Arcade. There's also a bunch of great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. With 22 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. That's greatwolf.com. Okay, it's August, and I am not ready to let summer go. There's still a lot of summer left in August, but we can't help but think about fall. And for me, that is about work and events. So I am going on Quince, and I am ordering things that are going to update my wardrobe for fall, but help me also still enjoy summer. I recently purchased the organic cotton poplin tiered maxi dress. Fabulous. I also got the washable stretch silk midi shirt dress. Perfect, easy, look great. Quince specializes in effortless, high-quality essentials without the big designer prices. Everything in Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Upgrade your everyday. Go to quince.com/fluster for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/fluster for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster.
Okay, so now back to the show.
Okay, we're back, and I had my sandwich. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we've talked a lot about the little kids and the cuteness and the worry of school, but let's include those middle schoolers all the way up. So between middle school and college, the language is going to change. What do you recommend?
Certainly, I hope for middle schoolers and particularly high schoolers, they have had some summer successes, and it may be they got their driver's license or they worked a part-time job, some way where they've taken on more responsibility or more independence would be a great thing to just talk about at the beginning of the school year. Now, let me warn you, is that they don't want to sit down and have like a meeting about this. They're in the eye-rolling stage of life. Especially if you're really earnest about it, they're going to be like, oh my God, Mom, please shut up. So you've got to just drop those things in there. So the language is something like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's only a week left before you start your sophomore year in high school. You are so different starting your sophomore year than you were your freshman year. I mean, I can't even believe how much you've figured out and how much more capable you are. And then just leave it at that. If they say like, well, what do you mean? Then you say, well, remember at the beginning of your freshman year, you didn't even know how to do this. And now this summer, blah, 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 blah. Giving them the opportunity to hear from you in ways that don't feel like you're sliming them with earnestness, that you've noticed the changes in them and that you anticipate that the changes are going to continue. So you're driving in the car and you just drop that in there. Oh my gosh, remember this summer when you were able to blah, 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 that kind of thing. The other thing too, in terms of emergency that I hear all the time that I really want to caution parents against is, and I've talked about this before, the whole junior year thing of high school.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much, I hear it all the time, so much anticipation of like junior year is the year that matters. And this is going to make or break your future. And this is going to be the hardest year. And this is going to be the critical year. I think that is really catastrophic language. And I think there may be some reality to it, of course, like junior year, you're going to start, if you're going to go to college, you're going to start thinking about that. You're going to start paying attention to that. But I think that there is a level of anxiety, anticipation, and just real urgency that people talk about junior year that I think you really need to pay attention to, especially at the start. It's pretty global across the board that I hear kids talk about this. And even school counselors sometimes, we really need to just take that rhetoric down a notch.
Can I share a personal experience? Well, coincidentally, just today, I ran into a neighbor who's a therapist who has a son going into junior year of high school. And she introduced junior year like, oh, this is junior year. There's absolutely this culture around it that you have to sort of downplay. So I have someone going into junior year of college, and similarly but different, it's kind of the last time if you're going to make any adjustments to your course of study, your majors or your minors, et cetera, like in terms of plans, you have to sort of know that. And sometimes you might have already needed to know that.
Mm-hmm. Unless you're me.
Okay. So my daughter and I had this conversation, and she's kind of at a place of uncertainty, and she's had internships and she has this coursework, and she had this moment of doubt that the plan that she was working on might not be the right one. And she might be onto something. Like it's not just like like she really needs to think about it. And she started going down insane rabbit holes of brand new things of study, brand new fields. and as she's saying this, man, I was not a happy vanilla ice cream. I just sat there like, right? Like stayed vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
And this is what I said, because I feel like this is what Flusterclux has taught me. I said, you don't really know. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. I'm not really interested. And you always talk about content versus process. I said, I just want you to know you're throwing all these ideas at me like spaghetti. What's going to stick? That's actually not the goal here. We're going to have uncertainty throughout our lives. What I'd love to hear from you isn't a bunch of other ideas of paths you could take. What I'd love to hear you do is tell me, I have a decision that I need to make, and I'm trying to figure out the immediate steps that I need to take in order to make the best decision versus figuring out the rest of your life. And I think that that's like one of the things as parents, as our kids get older, they're choosing their major, they're choosing jobs, they're choosing where should I move between job offers, and they ask us that. They have to live their own lives, but it's also like you have this anxiety producing decision. What skills can you bring to the table to get through it? You've got older kids. How can you say what I just said and rephrase that?
Well, it's funny you should bring that up, because in the other podcast that I do with another family member, so when I was doing Quarter Life with my son who just turned 26, that was one of the topics, decision making. How do you make decisions? How do you decide things? And I think that the absolute guarantee of overwhelm is to look at every possible option, to play out all the scenarios, and to believe that thinking will lead you to certainty, that discussing all possibilities will make the path clear. And one of the things that Michael Yapko, who I talk about all the time, he gave me so many pearls as I was learning how to do this job, is that whenever you choose one thing, it means that you're giving up something else, which generally is true. If you choose that puppy, you're not going to get that puppy. If you choose this career path, you're not going to choose that career path. And so accepting that a decision isn't necessarily about clarity and certainty for the rest of your life, but an understanding and an acceptance that you're going to choose something, which means you're going to give something up, which doesn't feel so good. And I think when people are ruminating and going down rabbit holes and trying to figure things out, they're really just trying to feel absolutely certain about the decision. And some decisions we can be certain about, but choosing your career path when you're going into your junior year in college and how exactly it's going to go and what the world is going to look like in 10 years.
Correct. You can't know. You can't know.
Not possible. Not possible to have that certainty.
And you want your own learned experiences to shape your path along the way. That's the advice as a manager I've given to those in the quarter life demographic that I've always managed, is that you're not trying to figure out the rest of your life's career. You're just really trying to figure out the next 2 or 3 years.
That's right, which is usually just the next big step or the next decision that you make. And I think you and I could both attest to the fact that sitting here now, we couldn't have predicted back in our 20s that this is what we would be doing right now. Podcast didn't even exist at that point. And my career went in a direction that I did not anticipate. And your career went in a direction that you did not anticipate. And it's the bigger skill of how do you make decisions that make sense at the time, that capitalize on your strengths, that are interesting to you, that generate curiosity to you, knowing that you're going to be able to adjust and shift as you go along. That's flexibility. Rigidity is, I'm going to do this one thing. This is how it has to go. I can't deviate from this path. That's what sets people up, because very often some deviation is necessary.
Oh, not only is deviation necessary, it should be encouraged.
Absolutely. Yeah. As the older kids are starting school, then my advice to parents would be to not get locked in. I mean, oh my gosh, I have kids that believe that there is one school, one college that they need to get into. I have kids that believe that they have to take a certain amount of AP classes. There's one score that they have to get on their ACT or their SAT. And it just doesn't have to be that rigid. And the ability to manage and make deviations and be curious, that's what keeps you moving. Not the rigid path, but the flexible path. And I think parents need to be able to understand that too, because a lot of parents get caught up in that rigidity as well. It's tricky.
With my daughter, the conclusion that I finally said is that I'm not asking you to try and figure out any of these things for the rest of your life. I'm just asking you to explore options for an internship. Now that you've completed one, what should the next internship be? And stop there.
Yeah.
Like, let life's experiences guide you.
Yeah. I mean, I told this story. A psychologist asked me long ago when I was first in private practice if I wanted to assist him with custody evaluations. And he said, you get these evaluations. He said, you meet with the different parents, you interview the kids, you write up a report, you present it to the court with your opinion. And he said, it pays really well. And this is me, a young social worker. I wasn't making anything. He's like, it pays really well. Once you get into the legal system, it pays really well. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that sounds interesting, right? To interview people. I know how to do that. I did one of them. Done. Not my thing. I tried it. It was awful. I didn't want that responsibility to make that decision. I shouldn't have been, for God's sakes. Like, I think I was 29 or something. And it was just awful. And I wanted no part of it. But I gave it a try. Seemed like a good idea at the time. And I just made a hard left out of that.
And wasn't that great experience?
Mm-hmm.
It told you so much about the next direction.
Correct. And it also told me that I could try something. I could recognize that it was absolutely not a good fit, and I could make a shift. Did I stay a social worker? Of course. Did I continue to work with kids? Yeah. But I did it in a way that was much more in keeping with who I was and what I was interested in. So my career has evolved over the time, and I've certainly had some shifts and changes and adaptations. That can happen during high school too. It's not like this is just career stuff. Your daughter's in college, but this can happen in high school. So that idea that as you enter this new school year, September is so much a reset. August is so much a reset, that it really is about having the ability to make decisions, to step into uncertainty, and then also to know that you can change and adjust as you go along.
Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast helpful, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this information.
And if you'd like to dig deeper on any of these topics, we have specialized playlists on our Spotify profile, and the link is in the show notes. Topics like teens, depression, and OCD. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Robin.
Class is now in session, and the UPS Store is here to help you ace arriving on campus. Our certified packing experts can pack everything you need, from desktops to decor. Plus, when you pack and ship with us, you get our exclusive pack and ship guarantee. Your items arrive safe or your money back. Restrictions and limitations apply. To get a 20% off packing coupon and for full details, visit theupsstore.com/packing.